Friends, fellow majors, enjoyers of Menace around the world, you know what time it is. We got to do a tier list of all of the commanders, both the SLs and the pilots, as I've completed my first run of Early Access, and I have some thoughts about who's hot and who's not out of your playable characters here. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including coverage of some of our favorite turn-based tactics titles such as Menace, discussing characters, doing tier lists, all the sort of fun YouTube thing, then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. You can see I've actually made a little bit of a custom tier list, and if you want to make your own, I'll have this linked in the description. This is one that I made myself for the first time ever, so hey, have fun with it. And we have 5 specific tiers here that need a little bit of discussion, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to go through, in order here, all of our current SLs who are in the game and talk about why some of them are good, why some of them are great, and why some of them are not. You see me looking off to the side here sometimes. It's because I do have the list of characters just as a reference point for me, so I can take a quick look at like their skills and things like that if I need a refresher. But we'll go through what the tiers here are first, and then we'll get going. So first of all, universal tier. It's universal tier, right? Like, these are just characters that are always good and you're always happy to have them in your team. They either are extremely cost efficient or just absolutely deadly. Maybe they've got a unique set of perks that makes them very strong, that type of thing. If they're in the top, they're in the top. It's like an S tier. Your role experts are characters who are extremely good at like 1 or 2 things, but you only want them for those roles, so you're not necessarily going to be bringing them on every mission if you have the supply for it. You'll always be happy to have them, and for whatever role it is that they perform, they will perform it extremely well, but that's not always a guaranteed deploy, that type of thing. Generally okay is exactly what it says on the tin. They're generally okay. Characters that you're fine taking. They'll probably get bumped out for other characters over time, or you'll take them sometimes if a character is injured or needs to rest, who's like one of your mainstays, one of our top tiers, and you'll be fine with them. They're not going to quite perform up to snuff, but they're fine. Niche is just a character that has a very specific role that they are good at in that role, but they really aren't useful for anything else. Not going to be many characters in this tier. There's a couple that we'll talk about. Those of you who know the game probably already have an idea. They're niche. It is what they are. And then finally, if I have to, tier is literally like I will only deploy this character if needs must. If everyone else is out of commission for some reason, or there's some major issue with like a availability of weapons or gear or something like that. A character that I never want to be playing. Now, with those tiers explained, we can get into things here. First of all, you know her, you love her. She's God's favorite princess and the most beautiful girl in the world. It's Jane Darby. Jane Darby is a universal character. No ifs, ands, or buts. She just is so very, very good. She's got great concealment. She does great damage because she's got very good accuracy. She's got a nice set of perks. She's just going to be an all-around all-star character, especially if you really lean into concealment rifle squads, which are definitely one of the stronger options in the game at its current point. She is expensive, but you can definitely work around that by being smart about what gear you're equipping, what other SLs you have, all that fun stuff. And having her deployed, she is absolutely going to do work. The only thing that I'm not really super hot on with Darby, and even then she's still great, her personal skill, high value target, where she disables the specialist in a squad if her squad shoots them. That's great, but I mean, by the time you get to the point in the game where there's a lot of specialists, you're probably just going to wipe that squad, or you'd prefer to just wipe that squad anyway, and her personal skill isn't doing that for her. It's not helping her with that in any way. So it's a little, yeah, but it's really neither here nor there. She's got so many good concealment perks, so many good damage and accuracy perks. She's just extremely strong, and you'll always, always, always be happy to have her. Now, moving on from Darby, we have Charles Lim, and Mr. Lim is generally okay. The thing about Lim is he's a growth character, but not in the growth potential way. He's cheaper to promote, and he's decently cheap to deploy. He's not like a 1-star character. He's a 2-star character, so he's still a little expensive, but he's pretty good at whatever it is that you want him to do. He's a very solid mobile infantry character. He's a good assault character because he gets berserk, so you can put like shotguns and heavy armor on him. He's going to be a very serviceable rifleman. Like, he can do pretty much anything that you want him to do as a normal infantry squad. He's never going to be the best, especially once you kind of cap out his promotions early. If you really like rush promotions for him and then other characters start to catch up, he'll lose a bit of his luster. But even then, at that point, he'll still be powerful and he'll still be capable. He's just not always my go-to pick. So he's generally okay. Now, Carta. Oh, Carta. This, I always get in trouble when I talk about Carta, but I really am not nearly as impressed by her as everyone thinks I apparently should be. I know she can do mobile infantry, and she's cheap, so that's nice. I know she's apparently really good as like a special weapons squad user, but I've never been super impressed by her. Like, if I want to do the mobile infantry thing with like a transport and moving people around, I'm just going to do it with Lim. He's just going to be better overall, a little bit more expensive, but that's fine. He's going to be way better at his job. Like, do I want special weapons? Not that often. Like, if I'm on a defense mission and I've got Carta, I'm happy. So I'll give her a small squad. I'll put her in a tower with like a heavy machine gun or some sort of like big anti-tank weaponry, and then she'll do work. But that's the only time out of my entire campaign that I've been happy to use Marta. And I selected her as one of my starting characters for this campaign. So I think she's going to go into niche. Again, I know. I'm going to get heat for that, all right? But listen, 2 roles. Special weapons user in a tower on defense missions, or if you want to rock her as mobile infantry, and even then she's not as good at it as, like, Lim, in my opinion. I know, opinions are opinions. They are what they are. We all have them. But I think Carta is just a niche character. If they fix growth potential and make it so it actually affects things properly, and you actually can grow her stats well over time and have her as your sort of trainee character, if we're going to use Fire Emblem terms, then we've got something. And then my opinion on her is going to change quite a bit. But as it stands right now, she just doesn't equal out to other characters, and it's a shame, is what it is. Now, you know who's not a shame? Edwin Pike. Edwin Pike is a universal character. I love Pike. Pike is just such a good all-around character, and he's unique in that he's able to give extra turns and help deal with like morale problems for your team in ways that no other character can. Being able to just donate AP, being able to fix suppression and like morale flagging and everything, being able to mark targets, and then also having things like this is my rifle to be able to carry a big nasty gun and use it pretty well without it being too cheap, makes him a very universal, easy to pick character. Especially later on in the game, once your supply limits are higher, it is so easy to justify just bringing Pike with some basic fatigues, maybe like a special weapon, and 2 squaddies, and have him just be a morale and AP bot that occasionally like snipes something or blows up a tank. Love it. And that's before you even get into the fact that he can actually be a good rifleman squad leader as well. Great character. Always happy to have him. I deploy him constantly. Now, Tech. Tech is an interesting character. Tech with his personal skill that allows him to one-hand, or like not deploy to use special weapons. I think Tech is just kind of niche. I really think he is. He's got generally fairly bad accuracy for an infantry squad leader. He kind of wants to be in the front line, and he can do that. He can wear heavy armor, he can have shotguns, but if you want to use him to his full effectiveness, you want a special weapon on him to use his personal skill, which is generally not going to be super advisable unless you're just lugging around like a fancy rocket launcher that you don't need to deploy so you can like be an anti-tank squad, in which case, okay, like that's fine, but again, that's very niche. Or you want him like in the front line using his personal skill to like plow into enemies and do shotgun shenanigans, or like give him a pirate jet suit, which again is fine, but not something that you want to be doing constantly, especially with how easy it is to, especially with like a pirate jet suit, to throw that type of a character squad into a massive enemies that's maybe a little bit bigger or nastier than you were expecting, have one attack go wrong, and then just be SOL. So I love Tech as a character. Tech is hysterical. But I think special weapons need to be a bit more effective, and there needs to be more of a reason to want to get up in the enemy's face to justify how Tech's kit is kind of meant to be played. Because as it is, he just kind of like marks targets for things and is kind of tanky. And that's nice. But better to not get shot at all, right? For most cases. And if you do want characters that are going to be getting shot at, there's better options than Tech, and we'll talk about that. Now, moving on from Tech, though, we have Jean Sai, our moneymaker. Jean is a role expert, and the first that we have. You don't generally want Jean to be, like, a carry, but she can do work. She can shoot decently well, especially if you give her, like, a laser rifle or something like that. But Jean is what allows you to get so much more good loot from the black market, and that is vital, especially if you're trying to afford big, expensive vehicles and weapons for them. If you want to be able to get that stuff, I swear, you need to have Jean coming out on at least some missions and using trinketing to get more stuff for you. And the fact that she is also able to use her economic skill to reduce the supply cost of things that she's bringing makes it so much easier to give her actual good gear and get her into the fight without sacrificing too much from your other squads or your other vehicles. Because she has that unique role and she is very good at it, I do think she belongs in Role Expert. I think she's a very important character to have, but I'm not deploying her all the time, and I'm not deploying her just for like general use most of the time. Something that I would really need her to be able to do, or that I would want to do with her, to put her in Universal tier. But she's very, very nice for what she does. Next up, my boy Griefinger. If you think Darby's a Universal character, get up there. Griefinger is also absolutely a Universal character. Griefinger is just Darby, but better. Griefinger has a personal skill that actually allows him to deal way more damage. He's just as stealthy. He's just as accurate. He's got a great suite of like assassination perks and infiltration perks. He's just so good. And even if you don't want to use a bunch of that stuff, and you just want to stick him with some decent armor and a good gun on the firing line and just have him pick off priority targets, he's great for that too. No use. Like, you give him a shotgun. He would rock with a shotgun, especially with Vanguard, so you can push him up into the enemy line and just blow him away. He's got so much AP. The man is just phenomenal. Like, there's really not even that much more I can say about it. He's just better Darby. And if Darby's a Universal character, Griefinger is absolutely a Universal character. This man cleans up. It's disgusting. I don't care that he's expensive. He will be a powerhouse for anyone who decides to use him. Next up, we have Yaz. And Yaz, I think, is just generally okay. On paper, I really like what Yaz does. You know, like messing with suppressed targets, dealing extra damage to them with if it bleeds, like having no mercy to get like finishers and executions and stuff like that. He's good for that. And he's a good all-around squad leader, just in the way that Lim is as well. But to me, he kind of has a conflicting role with Jean, because you both want these to kind of be picking off weakened targets. And with Jean, at least you're like getting more out of it. He's a little bit better at doing it, sure, but you get to the point where you have some good weapons and stuff on Jean that you can afford because of her perk, like making things cheaper. And it just kind of makes her feel like she outcompetes Yaz. He's not quite as accurate as I would like him to be. He's got, again, a solid set of perks. Like, I'm not unhappy using him, but I don't think he really has a specific role that he's an expert in, and he's certainly not a Universal character. No way. I think he's generally just okay. Sorry for the cut there. There was a truck out there laying on its horn for some reason. I couldn't figure out why. It might have been picked up on the mic, so I wanted to cut it out. Anyway, moving on, we have our good old boy, JG Wetteroth, otherwise known as Jiggy to me. This is very much a niche character. JG is so weird because he's the big, like, bug hunter, right? He gets, like, extra damage against, like, big bugs and stuff, and he's got his, like, free melee attack that never misses. Well, not free, but it's, like, 30 AP, and it never misses. He's just a weird character, dude. Like, I like him, but his AP is awful. He doesn't have a particularly great perk set. He's not particularly accurate. But if you're fighting a bunch of big bugs, like, he does get a lot better. And push comes to shove, you can knife something, which, I mean, it'd be nice if you had 90 AP at base, so you could use it 3 times if something ran up on you. And right now you can only use it twice, which is very annoying, since he starts with 85, and it takes forever for growth potential to get more. Yeah, he's not particularly great, all right? But I am happy to bring him on bug missions and give him, like, a good set of rifles. Maybe a sniper, if you really want to get weird with it. Especially when they hopefully eventually buff snipers. That'd be phenomenal. But he's a weird one. Use him to hunt bugs. It's pretty much all there is to it. Vamploo. Vamploo is the first non-starter character I ever recruited, and boy howdy was I impressed with him. Vamploo is a role expert. The thing about Vamploo is he wants to be your heavy armor frontline shotgunner. Like, that is what he wants to be doing. His personal skill makes every, 4 attacks that his squad takes, you can use it and give yourself 60 AP for that turn, which is insane. That is such a big boost. And then he's got perks to, like, reduce the cost of armor that you have equipped on him, taunt enemies, get other benefits for being up in their face and tanking. And if you can give this boy some big heavy armor or like a pirate jet suit so he can get into the fray, he's going to draw a lot of fire, be fairly hard for the enemy to kill, and then get free AP as a result. The only thing is you really need to make sure that he doesn't get suppressed, but again, there's options for that, either with perks or like using Pike to unsuppress him, different things like that. But boy howdy, this is your assault unit right here. This man loves to get up in people's faces with a shotgun and just crush them. And if you took some shots and you're able to pop that AP boost, he can put out like 3-4 shots in a round and just annihilate something, possibly multiple somethings. I love him. He's a ton of fun. He's a complete shithead character, which also makes him fun. He's just really cool. He's really unique, and he's a good example of how you can have an SL that isn't just like a rifle squad user. Like, they can do some different stuff. Same thing with Pike. Like, Pike having all the support options, Vamploo having the tank options. It's very fun. Finally, for the last of our infantry squad leaders, we have Sing. And I don't know how people feel about Sing, but I love Sing. Sing, I think, is a universal character. The thing about Sing is he's cheap, and he doesn't have the best accuracy to start. But because he's basically just a commander for the Imperial Guard from 40k, you give him a full squad with a good set of rifles, and you give him "this is my rifle" so that it costs less, and man will clean house. The fact that you're able to get a bunch of anti-suppression stuff, the fact that you're able to do so much extra damage with so much extra accuracy when you have a full squad, and the fact that he can just fully reinforce his squad once you get his final promotion, and like if things go really bad, just be whoop right back up to full. Like, there's so much just good general workhorse potential for Sing, and he's so cheap. He is so cheap to deploy. Being a 1-star character and having "this is my rifle" makes him so easy to put out there on the battlefield. You can give him a ton of like anti-vehicle like accessories and things. I love rocking him with a laser rifle because, again, Imperial Guard, but also you never have to worry about ammo then. Stick him in a good position of cover, have him hold a battle line, put him in a tower, or have him move up with the line. He'll be slightly slower than the others, but once he gets where he's going, he will be able to lay down an oppressive amount of fire. This man is absolutely a universal character. If I'm ever able to get him right off the cuff as like one of the first recruits that become available to me, I'll grab him every time and he'll become one of my workhorse units easily. Awesome character. If you have not used him yet, you have to. He's so strong, especially with the fact that rifles are particularly strong in the current game state. So absolutely lovely character. Love the guy. Now, moving on, we have our pilots. And first up, we have my girl, Raya. Raya is going to be our first, and I think only, universal pilot, and as such, the last of our universal characters. The reason that Raya is so good as a pilot is she's middle-of-the-road cost-wise, so she's not too expensive to deploy. Vehicles are very expensive to deploy in general, especially if you have them fully kitted out with like weapons and accessories and everything. But she is cheaper than some others, Achilas, and she's able to do literally anything. Like, you want her to be a melee-ish bruiser and be running things over constantly, she has a perk that massively increases the damage of that. You want to have her just in a tank firing off with like multiple different cannons and machine guns and all sorts of other nonsense. Her personal skill is going to stack her accuracy and discipline with each kill that you get, and it will stack quick. Do you want to just have her be a absolute powerhouse of chaff clearing, which is how I've been using her, with a medium walker and twin-linked machine guns? She gets berserk, so you can just hose down huge groups of enemies. She can do literally anything. Like, you can even have her doing transport shenanigans if you want. Like, Reiwa is just an all-around phenomenal pilot. There has not been a single use that I have tried with her yet that has been bad. And I cannot say that about the other pilots. So yeah, Reiwa is just phenomenal. I absolutely love her. And as much as I love Achilas as well, I think she is legitimately better than he is, partially because of her reduced cost. So yeah, she's phenomenal. Absolutely adore her. Exconda, next up. Exconda, I think, is a role expert on this, because realistically, he can do pretty much anything with vehicles. He can be artillery. He can use like a infantry fighting vehicle with a cannon. Like, he's got generally all around good stats, but the big thing he wants to be doing is to be your mobile infantry guy. He wants to be in a transport, preferably not have a heavy weapon for some of his perks and everything, and then move around your dudes. Get Jean in there, get Lim in there, hell, get Vamploo in there, get anyone, Sing, like anyone who wants to get moved up to the battle line quickly and then deploy and stick around the transport in case they need to hop back into it. Again, especially your mobile infantry types, or not, I don't think Jean has it, but like Lim and Carta. They want to be with Exconda. He's going to give them extra cover. He's going to get more accuracy himself if you take the relevant perks for it. And then he'll just be able to be a good mobile turret to keep your troops alive and get them into the fight. He's not going to be useful in every situation because you don't always want to be doing that. And sometimes you need your vehicles to be a lot more punchy than like an infantry transport would be, especially if you're using him the way you're kind of supposed to by not having a heavy weapon. So he's not going to be universal, but he is very good. He's probably my third favorite pilot, I'll say, because I do have a very soft spot in my heart for Achilas. But moving from really quite solid to God, please don't make me use him, it's Bog. He's going to be our only if I have to. Guys, I know Bog is cheap. All right, Bog can like fix vehicles in between missions. Woohoo! The thing about Bog is his accuracy sucks, and he's got bad AP. So the two main things you would probably want to use him for, of either firing off with a cannon from range because he can make his vehicles cheaper by sacrificing their HP, he's not going to be particularly good at, and being infantry transport because, again, he can make his transport cheaper and thus make it easier to bring more stuff. He's also not particularly great at 'cause he's got bad AP, so you can't get into the fray the way other characters like Exconda can. I really just don't like Bog. I've heard that there's a lot of good stuff that you can do with him, but I've tried him multiple times, and I've just never been impressed. I would rather take literally any other pilot if given the opportunity. I don't like him. He's going in if I have to, and I'm sure people are going to yell at me in the comments for it, but what can you do? Now, finally, we have Achilas, and then Ivory, who I always forget her name for. I always want to call her Ivy, not Ivory. Achilas first, though. I think Achilas is very much a role expert. I would say that he's universal, but he's just so damn expensive. And the fact that his personal skill is very strong but requires you to be taking damage is a little bit of a problem. If you want to use Achilas properly, you need to have vehicle repair bays on your ship, so that way you can get him into the fray, get some danger going on, lose some HP, get your AP and start popping off, and then be able to repair the vehicle in between missions. Otherwise, you're just going to run through vehicles like crazy. And because you want to be so aggressive with him, you do run the risk of getting a little overwhelmed, especially if you're fighting like the rogue army and just taking a bunch of missiles to the face and blowing up. And that's not ideal unless you're able to like recover your vehicles and you have the specific OCI component for that, but not generally recommended as an all-use upgrade. That said, when you are able to use Achilas effectively, whether you get him in there with like an IFV and some kind of closer range weapons, or even a cannon because he's just super accurate and he'll just pick things off for you, he does do great. He'll draw a lot of fire. He will get stronger as he draws fire. As long as you don't get blown up in one turn, again, by like the rogue army, he will perform that role very well. But you kind of have to build around him a little bit, and he doesn't like to do like infantry transport just because he's so expensive, right? Like, he can move very far with them, but like, you only got to move so far before you're in the fight. You're not moving them around with a transport for the most part anymore. So definitely better than generally okay. Definitely has a role that he fills very well and will crush it for you if you have him do it. Not quite universal, though. Just too expensive with the way vehicles are. And then finally, Ivory, who I think is just generally okay. Ivory's weird because like her skill set and everything kind of makes it seem like she wants to be your heavy artillery character, like sitting back with a mortar and just lobbing stuff at things, or using like an airburst missile launcher or something like that, which is where I've gotten my best use with her. But again, she's a 1-star character, so her AP is quite poor, and even with the reductions in AP costs that you can get for certain things, like your heavy weapons and stuff, she's still not generally able to pop off with the like 2 shots a turn, unless you get like every single promotion for her, and then maybe you're being supported by like Pike. You can do good work with that, but it takes a lot of setup. The main thing that I've actually been using her for, because again, she is so cheap, has been sticking her in a pirate truck and then giving her like an airburst launcher or something like that. So she can pepper a huge area with missiles and then be very mobile and get to different parts of the battlefield that I need that suppression and damage on. And she is quite good for that. I've been enjoying her a lot more recently, but I haven't gotten a ton of use out of her. And I mean, I've got some phenomenal pilots who I rely on pretty heavily, so she doesn't come out all that often, unfortunately. I like her. Maybe there'll be some sort of buff in the future where it's easier to do like more mortar shenanigans with her and everything, because then she'll definitely be nice. But as it stands, she's just kind of okay, I think. And that, at least as of the current early access release, is all of the pilots and squad leaders that are currently in the early access release of MENACE. And you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about this list. People always tell me that my tier lists are always too top heavy, but I think that's partially due to just always using like your S through D ranking system, and that's why I wanted to go for something a little bit different here that can explain a little bit more why certain characters are in, say, like what would normally be A tier here, is role expert. You have very, very specific things that you're very good at, and the way MENACE is set up does allow that type of character to shine. So I think this is justified a little bit more. I mean, my tier lists are always justified in my mind, but people get weirdly defensive over them. I don't know. I don't think I really want to move anyone around here. I feel pretty good about this. You could maybe make the argument that Jiggy here should be in if I have to, but I do like taking him on bug missions. He does do a decent amount of work there, so I mean, I like using him more than Bog anyway, so, you know, I guess that tells you what you need to know. Let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about these rankings? How do you feel about these characters? Should someone be lower? Should someone be higher? And also, what do you think of the actual tiers themselves and the explanations I have for them here? Because if you... oh, God. Sorry, a little bit of a frog in my throat there. Anyway, if people like this type of system, I'll do this more for my tier lists in the future, because I think it might help explain my thought process about why I feel how I do about certain characters and things in games. So give me all your feedback down below. Make your own tier lists if you like. Share them in the comments. Do whatever you want to do. MENACE is a great time, but we're starting to come up on the end of what early access can provide until that next big patch comes out. So look for this and one more interesting video that should be coming out, and then it's basically going to be news and stuff from there until the full release. For now, though, thank you all so very much for watching. Thank you to all of my lovely patrons and members who've been scrolling by over my face on the right side of the screen. They very much help to keep the channel running. Thank you all so much for being there all these years and hopefully far into the future. And until the next time, I hope that you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. And remember, be good to each other, y'all. Bye now.